Now settle down, young'uns, and shake the wax out of your ears. I got a story to tell. Now you might recall those 3 dangerous women I was telling y'all about last time. That ornery quill pusher, Bad News Hannah, who'd made a name for herself, confusticating and discombobulating those no-good lying scoundrels who print what passes for news round here. The girl writes what, that cheroot-smoking, moonshine-guzzling renegade who had a price on her head for aggravating, flustering, and otherwise perturbing the ladies. And Allison, the outlaw who fancied herself a sheriff or some such, who was so out of her mind she thought she was a badger, and who might as well have been one for all the sense she made. It was down at the crossroads over that hill just yonder that their 3 paths first met, and they knew in the marrow of their bones that they all had business in this here town. You see, they'd been tracking, each unbeknownst to the other, a gang went by the name of the Foyer Gals. A meaner, more deadly nest of rattlesnakes you will never come across. Yet they masked their fell thoughts and deeds behind the veil of the righteous and the false siren song of the just. Who, after all, could possibly argue in favor of the evils of liquor, or the brutish habits of the undomesticated, soused-up men who imbibe, or the continued sufferings of the fairer sex proceeding and precipitating therefrom? But oh, my darlings, our 3 heroines, they knew those Foyer Gals, for all their high-minded jawing and pontificating, was up to no good, and they intended to root out that evil and shine the light of truth on it before it might find a foothold in our peaceful, sleepy little town. And what happened next? Oh, we shall see.
Welcome to Honey Badger Radio Classic number 6. Boys need to learn to respect their betters. This is your host, the moon-addled lunatic, Allison Tiemann, and with me for this installment of HBR Classic and every installment thereafter is Karen Strawn, otherwise known as Girl Writes What, and Hannah Wallen, otherwise known as Oneris Agrippus Lardibatifast. We've decided to get back to the original format that launched Honey Badger Radio once every 2 weeks, just the 3 of us. And for the faint of heart, a warning, all 3 of us are old school brawlers, so expect some shouting, maybe a bit of fisticuffs, but we've all checked our iron at the door, so hopefully no fatalities. Today, during today's patron-only after show, which will be after we discuss the items of note, we will be discussing how the University of Certainty has banned Cassie J's documentary on the men's rights community because it, quote, has the capacity to physically threaten women. If you're interested in joining us for the after show, go to www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. There are some great perks for patrons, including access to a lively Discord chat where you will be the first to know all the things, all and every Badger thing. Now let's get on with it. A couple days ago, I received a tweet with a screenshot of the Google result for, quote, how to raise a boy right. This was the first result listed on Google. 1, abort him. Men rape. 2, don't breastfeed him because breastfeeding will give him an advantage over girls. 3, teach him to check his male privilege. 4, teach him to be ashamed of his boyish ways. Now, I'm going to stop here because this is a PO. It's a deliberate satire article published on Thought Catalog. Although, to be fair, radical feminists have advanced 1 and 2. Abort boy children and don't breastfeed them. And more disturbingly, because, you know, radical feminists are going to radical, but more disturbingly, moderate feminists have advanced, in all seriousness and with no apparent understanding of how horrible that is, 3 and 4, teaching boys to check their male privilege and to be ashamed of their quote-unquote toxic masculinity. Now, since that tweet made the rounds, Google has removed the summary of the satirical article. Although one does wonder if such an article on girls would ever have found itself as the first result in a How to Raise Girls Right Google search, much less remained the first result for more than an hour after becoming the first result. I'm pretty sure Google would have scrubbed that almost instantly. In fact, the first result for How to Raise Girls' Rights is a Baby Center article titled 10 Tips for Raising a Confident Girl. Because God knows, we need confident girls in societies where satirical articles like that, like abort boy babies, become the first result on Google. Anyway. Looking at the difference between the two Google searches, it occurred to me that it might be interesting to take a look at the very different things society means when it says how to raise a boy right versus how to raise a girl right. Immediately, we all know that how to raise a boy right is to raise him to treat girls right, to teach him how to monitor his actions in order to have a positive effect on the girls and women around him. Don't hit a girl is a big one. Take care of your little sister. Ladies first. Boys are fed a lot of messages that focus on making sure they understand how their choices affect women and girls negatively and to take responsibility for that effect on women and girls. Boys are taught to respect girls. Girls are taught to expect respect from girls. And this isn't necessarily a new thing. Ladies first. This one-way respect creates an obvious hierarchy. Boys are supposed to elevate girls' feelings above their own. But for those of you who might be listening to this and thinking, possibly subconsciously, maybe consciously, who cares? Boys need to toughen up. They need to learn to see themselves in terms of protecting and providing others. They're the little patriarchal oppressors, after all. Now consider this. This framing also emphasizes focusing on boys' actions as more meaningful, more impactful, and more potent than girls. You are teaching boys to define themselves by their actions and girls by their reactions to boys' actions. If you want to do that, that's fine. But don't piss on your daughter's leg and tell her it's raining. What you're teaching her is the opposite of the tools she'll need to achieve. It is the opposite of empowerment. In order to create an effective action taker, you have to teach children how to connect their actions to consequences in the real world. So in effect, you are reducing your daughters down to sandboxes for your sons to learn how to be effective action takers. You're saying, son, you're going to become an effective action taker. You need to grow up to become an effective action taker. Use your sister's reactions as training wheels to learn how to connect your actions to consequences so that you can develop in your role as a doer and achiever. Then, just so you can shake off the dew in your daughter's face, you turn around and blame the patriarchy, and you insist you're a feminist interested in empowering girls. And I haven't even touched on what this whole framing does to boys. Now, before we begin the discussion, we're going to read 2 articles from Baby Center. I decided to choose 2 articles from the same site to reduce any possible, variables. One on how to raise boys' rights and one on how to raise girls' right. As you're listening to these articles, watch for how they frame their advice in terms of holding boys to a standard of behavior while protecting girls from the world around them.
I will say that a lot of the advice in the article is actually, it's not bad advice. Take into account that your boy is going to have more energy and be accepting of that. Take into account that he might not always be gender conforming and be accepting of that. Take into account that he may not be as interested in language as girls, so make sure he reads or at least listens to, and the listens to is important too, a story every day. Not watches one on TV with all of the visual cues and the visual story elements, but just listens to one and hones his verbal skills, right? Like a lot of these things are things, and cuddle him. Cuddle him as much as, as you would cuddle a girl, unless he objects to it.
Girls usually start off life at full steam. They're early talkers, the social butterflies, the A students. See, I really was a boy. But nowhere between preschool and middle school, but somewhere between preschool and middle school, a confusing blend of new social pressures, greater expectations in the classroom, and mixed signals from society. Do your best, but don't draw too much attention to yourself. You can be anything you want to be, but looking pretty is your top priority. Nobody ever said that. But looking pretty is your top priority. Cause girls to fall behind academically or lose their spark. Here's what you can do to build your daughter's confidence and resilience for the tricky years ahead.
Okay, just stop there.
God,
Compare that
I'm gonna throw up,
to,
guys.
compare that, that unending stream of victimhood.
Yeah.
To what they said about some boys are slow to pick up social graces, more interested in video games or Pokemon. Some are boisterous to the point where they have a hard time focusing. The entire intro to the first article is about holding boys to a standard. The entire intro of the girls article is about how society fails girls.
Number 1 is encourage assertiveness. Teach your daughter to express her needs to adults and stand her ground with her peers.
Fucking good at that.
If another child is being mean to her, encourage her to say, "I don't like the way you're talking to me."
Okay, so number 1 for boys.
Number 1 for
responsibility.
boys. Yeah. A sense of responsibility will serve him well in school. Number girls, teach her to tell other kids off if she doesn't like the way she's being treated.
Well, teach your girl to express her needs, teach your boy to be responsible.
Now, if I were to write something like this for parents, I would, these 2 tips would both go in it, just not necessarily in exactly the same way they were written. Every child should have chores. Every child should have responsibility. That's good. You notice the difference there?
It's needs. They're phrasing this as needs.
It's also they're telling parents to say to their boys, it's okay for you to be mad, right? It's okay for you to have your feelings and to express them, right? And to cry or whatever, right? But they're actually telling girls, it's important that it's important that you tell other people what you want them to do.
Yeah, so we've noticed what's present in the girl one that's missing from the boy one, but have we noticed what's present in the boy one that's missing from the girl one?
If he's not being destructive.
That's it. The assumption that sometimes the expression of emotion will get out of control is missing from the girl side. Essentially, it's never considered to be out of control. Number 3 says, make your praise match reality. Now, to me, this is sad that parents actually have to be told this at all.
Yeah.
And it goes on. A 3rd grader will know that she's not a musical genius or the best artist on the planet, but she'll appreciate if you notice her improvement from one month to the next.
How come there wasn't a concern on how best to praise your son?
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be, there's just praise the positive, but here it's not about, with the son, it's about praising it when he deserves it. In this one, it's about making sure that the girl feels like the praise is good.
Help her understand why she sometimes gets left out. Explain to your daughter that if she isn't invited to every birthday party or to every jump rope game, and she won't be, it's not meant to be an insult. Explain that when another child says, "You can't be my friend," it probably has more to do with that child's bad mood than it does with your daughter.
Oh, what a bunch of bullshit.
Boys don't get any explanation at all of relational aggression. This is such a glossed over explanation of relational aggression. It's like enough to make you nauseous from getting too much sugar.
Yeah, I'm like listening to this. I'm like, this is not going to help anyone.
No.
You can't say to your daughter, "Oh, this isn't about." It is about relational aggression. Is about what your daughter did or did not say. And interesting how they will. This one, number 4 for girls, you need to compare it to number
Maybe
Let's
number
see.
6, give him chances to polish his social skills.
Yes. Number 6, give him chances to polish his social skills. Boys don't form close, intimate friendships as easily as girls. They're more likely to play in groups and jockey for leadership. Help your son strengthen one-on-one friendships by arranging play dates for him and encouraging him to share his toys, use good manners, and generally play nice. Now, they are actually, it's glossed over, but it's short, so you can understand. But they are recognizing that groups of boys can have a negative effect in X, Y, and Z way. They're not recognizing the same thing for groups of girls in number 4.
Yeah, no, they're not recognizing that there is a hierarchy among girls, and you're not invited to my birthday party is like the kiss of death.
Yeah. Well, and they're also not
for girls who are 8 years old.
There's 2 things here that are important to point out. The relational aggression aspect is one of them. The other thing is girl absolutely has to learn to differentiate between not having things in common with other girls and not identifying with each other, and having having some cliques develop based on, hey, we all like anime, so we're going to watch anime together, and Susie and Jenny and those guys are really into makeup and they're going to do makeup together. But maybe there's some overlap between the 2 groups, but you got some people in each group that are only part of one group or the other because they don't like the other group's activity, and that's not relational aggression. But if, Jessie really likes both and she gets kicked out of the makeup group because she pisses off the queen bee of the makeup group, that's relational aggression. Well, if she does something shitty and she never gets a chance to become a better person and shape up and rebuild her friendship because she's been kicked out of the group and gets the silent treatment forever, that's dysfunctional.
Well, this is actually it's something that schools have addressed in terms of they haven't actually addressed the problem or acknowledged the problem, but they have come up with a solution to the problem that has no name, which is girls' relational aggression, in terms of, on Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, you are given, as a student in elementary school, you are given a list of names of all the people in your class, and you are expected to give a Valentine to every single person in your class. You are not expected. You are not allowed to leave anyone out, at least not when my kid was in school, in elementary school, when they still gave out Valentines. Leaving somebody out was a big no-no. And why do you think they brought that in? Was it because boys were excluding people? Maybe boys only gave Valentines to the girls, right? But they weren't excluding people based on popularity or based on ostracization or whatever, right? Like it was mostly, I would guess, the girls who were doing so. The hierarchy among boys, and this is one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, is similar to the hierarchy on active duty in the military, where it's like, the person in charge is the person with expertise. And so it's a shifting hierarchy, right? It's a hierarchy that generally, like if you have one person who decides that they want to be the dictator, right? They want to be essentially the king bee, right? Yeah, those hierarchies don't generally attract a whole lot of boys or men, right? You have a shifting hierarchy based on who's good at what, right? And so there's always an aspect, there's always something that somebody can contribute to the group in a group of boys or a group of men. There's always something that they can do, whether they're a fast runner and they can run messages, on the front lines, or whether they're like super good at fighting, hand-to-hand combat, great sniper, whatever, right? And you see this in gaming too, is that you have a hierarchy where everybody is able to fill a niche and be an expert in that particular niche. And that's essentially how male hierarchies work, as opposed to female hierarchies, which tend to be much more static. They tend to be less shifting. They tend to be one queen rules them all, and she shall never defer authority to anybody else.
Or be questioned.
I think it's because women tend to go along the warlord group model. It's not really a shifting hierarchy because it's not about not about achieving a goal or building up resources for women. It's about dividing up conquered territory.
Yeah, I think that's really what it is.
And the queen bee is the woman, is the Genghis Khan, the Genga Khan, who can maintain the weight required to keep the territories all apportioned correctly. Whereas with men's groups, they tend to be more about goals and sort of almost an egalitarian, working together to achieve a goal. And this shifting leadership makes sense because in order to achieve a goal, you need different types of expertise at different points in time. So ultimately, the difference between a women's group and a men's group, or group of women and groups of men, is groups of men tend to have the real overarching leader is not a man per se, although there may be a real overarching leader who is a man. It's the goal of the group. Whereas with women, because it's really about territory division, the real overarching leader is the person who can enforce the territorial rules with the sufficient amount of threat of bullying or whatever else. So
ostracization,
ostracization.
And exclusion.
An exclusion. So it's functionally different. A woman's group is about carving up resources like a bunch of warlords, and a man's group is more like acquiring resources like an egalitarian collective.
A ludicrous leprechaun brought up something, nerds and social rejects as part in regards to social exclusion, and that is true. There is still a degree of, popular versus unpopular among boys. There are boys who have a larger number of friends, and there are boys who have a smaller number of friends. But I also noticed growing up that until you get to a point where there starts to be a risk of social rejection by girls among boys, even the nerds and the social rejects get more social interaction from the boys around them. They don't experience the degree of, ooh, stay away from me, you're not my friend, I don't talk to you, and things like that girls do to other girls. From the boys, until you get into like the close to the junior high age when girls start judging boys for who their friends are. And then you have boys who suddenly will change the way they treat the less popular boys because they don't want the girls to reject them for having nerd cooties. Number 5, encourage competence. Don't be too quick to help your daughter with homework or chores. If she asks for help, ask her to try working through it for a couple more minutes on her own first. Now, I will admit, girls give up faster than boys on a lot of things. That is true. But this is something that needs to be done for both sexes.
Yes. Well, let's get on to 6.
Number 6, encourage her to play sports if she wants to. Again, both sexes. Girls have more sporty options than ever before. Well, that's not entirely true, but going on. If she wants to do gymnastics or play football, give her a chance to get in the game and find out what she's capable of. Don't decide which sports are right for her. She can figure it out herself.
Okay, I want to get in there.
Me too. I want to say one thing right up front.
Yeah.
If your daughter is 5 feet tall and weighs 80 pounds soaking wet with rocks in her pockets, do not encourage her to play football with boys that are 6 feet tall and weigh 250 pounds because she's going to get crushed, okay? Or she's going to wreck the game.
All right. I just want to bring your attention to 7. Make music part of his life. Not encourage her to play sports if she wants to. Make music part of his life.
Yeah.
I want, with the son, you make him do it. With the daughter, you encourage it if she wants.
Don't make assumptions about her strengths and weaknesses. Another genderless admonition. This is something that's true about both sexes.
Well, yes.
Just because your child's a girl doesn't mean she'll struggle with fractions or that she'll
Just because your
ace
child's
reading
a boy
tests.
doesn't mean he'll be rough and tumble, but he might
Karen,
be
let
highly
God.
likely. Sorry.
This is so insulting. It doesn't mean she won't want to go fishing or try out for Little League. Follow her cues to best nurture her strengths and work on improving her weaknesses.
Can I point out that the boys list was full of assuming strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It was not having a strength in making friends, not having a strength in being able to control his energy, not having a strength in being able to recognize his emotions. All of these things are incidentally stereotypes about men and boys. But when it comes to stereotypes about girls, you're supposed to not make assumptions.
Yeah, it's insane. And it really...
It's insane because this is written by the same person, too.
Number 8, encourage a healthy body image. When she asks the inevitable, am I pretty? Answer her with an enthusiastic yes. When you praise her appearance, try to highlight her actions too. You looked so graceful at gymnastics today, or your eyes really shone on the stage. It can also be helpful for older girls to hear that models in magazines don't look like real girls or women, and that their photographs are altered to make them look thinner and more flawless than they actually are. Are you fucking for real? You're basically discouraging body shaming by body shaming. Models in magazines have always been thin or curvy and at the height of conventional beauty. When we didn't have Photoshop, they were still in the best of shape, and they were still at the top of the line for conventional beauty. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you need to teach your girl that the most important thing about her is not whether or not she's pretty. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be the extent of her person. And for God's sake, don't teach her that everybody else has to treat her like she's pretty if she's not. Being plain is not the end of the world. If you hang your girl's happiness on being pretty when she's not, and she finds out later that she's not pretty, that is a far height to crash down from. And when you hit the bottom, it hurts. It's hard. And if you don't have the tools to deal with it, it can create a monster. And the other end of that is, why do you think feeling pretty is a healthy body image? Working to be healthy, having a consideration for what is going to cause you to have a heart attack, or what is going to cause you to have diabetes, or what makes you feel like you have a good amount of energy, that's a good body image. That's a healthy body image. And it should be something that you work for with both sexes. The next one is number 9, prepare for sexism. Prepare her for sexism. Even today, some people think that girls can't do some things that boys can. If you notice your daughter watching TV shows or movies where girls stay in the background while boys save the day, point it out and talk to her about how different things are in the real world. I can only laugh at this. It's
how different from from what?
Before you even get to that point, what this actually says, I'm gonna do a fixed it for you. Number 9, install the victim module. Even today, some girls don't follow the victim narrative closely enough. Use watching television shows where girls don't behave the way feminists think they should to help instill that feminist victim narrative more strongly in your daughter's psyche.
Remember, When your daughter fails to achieve due to the victim module, blame the patriarchy and install an updated and more powerful victim module. Jesus fucking Christ.
And for God's sake, don't ever acknowledge that sometimes people have misconceptions about boys and that those are wrong too. Number 10, point out positive female role models. Notice this one was entirely lacking. There was nothing in the boys' article about positive male role models. Number 10, take every opportunity while you're watching the news or reading the paper to show your daughter that women, senators, sportscasters, doctors, athletes can do anything. Reading books with strong female characters is one of the best ways to get the idea across without lecturing. I don't know if this person's the best at advising on how to get any idea across without lecturing, but if you can't think of enough books like that, ask a librarian. They often have lists of books to choose from and can make recommendations.
Why do role models always have to be positive and great and innovators and and all of that? Why can't we respect people for doing the quiet work of not being assholes? And it's like the ability, and I know this sounds really weird, but or probably stupid, but when you are in a situation where you could project all of your worst impulses onto someone who cannot fight back, and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what people should be doing. But I think that that's something that also should be lauded. But you not only don't do that, but you manage to control the darkest impulses of yourself, and you try to be the best person you can be. It's like it's a dark moment of the soul, and I think that deserves some respect.
Yeah.
And there's no respect for that.